Mechanical Fiend is currently having a project challenge for her patrons based on the theme of food. Since I've been trying to expand my collection of 1 to 480 scale buildings, I decided a fun food-themed project would be to create the Cabbage cart from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, this thing is going to be so tiny. This is my house at this same scale. And these images are ones I printed out at about 1 to 48 scale. So I'm just going to take these measurements and divide them by 10. The biggest challenge I see is probably going to be these supports right here. They're so skinny. And I've got a couple ideas of what might work, but before I just jump in and start building it, I want to do a few mock-ups to try some ideas I have. So the ideas I'm going to try are this skinny wire, which is very flexible. I'm not sure if that's going to be what I want. I'm going to try thread soaked in PVA. And I'm going to try slivers of wood. So I'm just going to make 3 mock-ups at about the right size and see how they turn out. Had a little trouble recording with my phone, so I don't have any footage of me making my little mock-up. I built one, I learned a lot, and I'm just going to get started on the real thing now. So this is some heavy cardstock. I want to cut a couple strips that's maybe 1 millimeter wide, and these will be the sides of the card. This bit right here. And I went back to the doctor and my wrist is still broken, so I still got a cast on. It's taking forever for it to heal. So I'm just going to deal with it. And I'm going to cut this in half. So I made these 2 spacers, and they are just 3 pieces of this cardstock laminated together. They're not going to be glued to the final project. They're just used as spacers for the distance I want between these. On my mock-up, I used popsicle sticks, but I thought they ended up just a bit too wide. So what I'm going to do is clamp these 2 strips together with these spacers between them. This is hard with only one thumb. A lot of times when you're working at this scale, you feel like you're all thumbs. But right now, I feel like I'm not enough thumbs. So they actually put me in a new cast. They just take me, they've been taking me out of the cast and then putting me in a new one the past couple appointments. This is my 3rd cast. I've broken bones before, but I've never had them take this long to heal. It's going on 3 months now. And I just got this new cast on. They're going to be doing a CT scan soon. And that may... This one's got a bit of a bend in it, so I'm going to cut that off. These clothespins may not be the right clamps for it. Let's try these tweezers. Bit more parallel. I bought these tweezers specifically to use as clamps for paper. I bought them on AliExpress. That's the only thing I've bought on there. I've decided that I'm not going to buy anything from AliExpress or Temu. I just don't really trust it. It's a fairly constant distance between those two. When I did this with the mock-up, the strips were also wider and so a little bit less flexible. So then I'm going to glue an oversized piece of this card. This is going to be the bottom of it, which I will trim once the glue has dried. This is just Elmer's school glue. The glue here is going to be on the inside, which is going to be covered with tiny cabbages, so you won't even be able to see how much glue I put in there. So any overglue that comes out the sides will be trimmed off when I trim the base down. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a bit. Now this is dry, so I'll take off the clamps. Let's take a look at what we've got. Looks straight enough, I guess. Need my spacer again. I'm going to cut down the edges of this. I'm going to cut this at a bit of an angle, the spacer in here, to make the pressure of the blade less likely to mess up my edges. Okay. And for the ends of this, I'm just going to use another piece of paper. Now I need to leave this to dry. I think I need to remake the roof and use a single thread as as the support in the front and a single thread as the support in the back. That's my smallest needle. I was just trying to think if there was a way I could do it all at once, but if I did that, I couldn't get the needle back out again. So I have to come in, unthread the needle, rethread from the other side, and thread it through again. I need to keep the loop on this side. Now we do the same thing again. And the distance here needs to be the same as the distance on this. Got my 2 loops. So now I need to glue down some sides. Those 2 will do. Okay, now I need to pull these so that only about 3 millimeters pokes through. Let's cut off the majority of this. Then we're just going to fill up this crevice with glue. Let me cut off some of the excess. Let's see if I can get these threads down in there. Yeah, it's too long. What if I go along the outside? Yeah, that's gonna be the way. Just making it up as I go along. Gotten back into reading recently. I just finished Eric. It's a Discworld story based on the story of Faust. It's my first Discworld novel. It was pretty good. A friend of mine let me borrow it years ago. He didn't let me return it, so I finally got around to reading it. So my plan is to use some of that yellow thread for this stuff here. I've got some dowels that are 5/64ths that I'm going to use a slice for the wheels. 5/64ths is like the same size as a toothpick. And I bought a bunch of those a while back for a project. The smaller icosahedron here is made out of these little dowels. They're not actually touching. They are held together with fishing line. It kind of keeps them separate, like it's pulling equally on all sides. I don't know if this technically counts as tensegrity, but that's what I made. Here's one of those little dowels I was talking about. And what I'm going to try to do is see if I can draw the spoke pattern. It's a 5-spoke wheel. I think it'll be easier to draw it before I cut it up. So I've got some burnt umber ink here and a very fine dip pen. Could get one of my fatter tipped pens for the rim. Let's do this one. So I bought these pens at Pen Show here in St. Louis. We bought these pens and they are, I don't know, I don't remember the exact age, over 100 years old. But they're just rolled up paper. The guy had found a big box of them. Boxes, not just one box, tons of boxes of them in some building he had bought. That looks pretty good. Can you even see that? Doubtful. It came in a pack of 3, a bundle of 3 with different nibs on them. Here are the 3 of them. Gotta be careful cleaning these off because you don't want to get the paper wet. And this ink I have, not that it really matters for this case, But this speedball ink is quite water fast, so you can watercolor over it, which I like. I've got black and this burnt umber color. I realized something I forgot, which was the handles. And they need to go opposite the wheels, like a wheelbarrow. And I'm going to put the wheels on the end closest to this flap I've left on. So I'm going to put the handles on the other side. I'm going to use thread. And then once this is dry, I will trim it to size. It's dry, so I'm going to come in with some ink now and see how fine of a line I can draw. Time to do some trimming. Take some of this painted sawdust. Mix the glue in. Okay, I think I'm happy with those cabbages. So now it's time to glue some thread to the roof. So I am going to try to line them up with the bottom of the roof. The top of the roof is going to be easier to trim. My family and I watched Annie last night. The 1982, I think it was, version. I had never seen Annie before. I thought it was really good. Good songs. I mean, obviously I had heard a lot of the songs before, but good songs. The plot really moved. So yeah, that was good. I feel like sometimes musicals can drag. I guess I may as well put the wheel on while I'm on this side. I think I'm going to go with the thinnest ones. So that would be, this is one of them. Gosh, even that seems so fat. Yeah, I need to use paper. I can't use this piece of wood. Right, now I need to cut off the excess of this second side of threads since it's dried. In the reference here, you can see that this straw has been bundled up with some rope or twine, and I'm going to do that just with a little dot of the brown ink. In the reference, you can't see it in my reference because I cut it off, but there's wrapping around these handles on the end, and I want to make those this darker brown color. Last step is the wheels. I had my silhouette cut me out some tiny circles out of paper. The way I've decided I like the look of is one where I paint the whole thing brown and then paint the negative space between the spokes in this color. I'm just going to do dots, basically. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. All right, here's the finished product. Actually dropped it once. What a nightmare. See you next time.